Okay, yes, what were we up to? So, let's get on with playing. We are currently attempting to go for the achievement, which is to reform an African religion, convert the entirety of the Africa region to that religion. We don't have to control it all, we do have to convert everything. So, I suspect we're going with a mix of conquest and and kind of taking over things. So it's a bit of a combo, I think we're going to go for. Where we left things last time, and let me just close some background processes down, because I think Spotify is doing its normal trick of deciding to eat every single bit of memory the computer has, despite not needing it. So yes, where we left it is, within the space of one reign, we had managed to both reform our religion and to create a kingdom after starting essentially as, were we a 2-province minor or a 1-province minor? Morning, Pangolin. So yeah, so we are essentially Houseland, and we are doing quite well. We had just died. Girama had just died at 71, which is a solid innings, really, when you think about it. Especially given the amount of times people tried to kill her. We are currently now Sarkin Bawo. We have some absolutely stellar stats going on, so I'm very happy with that. Because we are intelligent. We are 32 years old, and we already have a bunch of sprogs. We did manage to flip the... When we flipped the religion, we flipped it to be female preference. So actually, that's going to make our lives a bit easier, I think. So what we do need to think about is whether actually we want to divorce our wife. The main issue we've got at the moment is we are holding 8 domains of only 5 that we can hold. But 8 is a hell of a lot for us to control anyway, and I suspect we want to give some of these out. Yes, we are indeed. We are content, sadistic, and arrogant. Which means we can murder our own children as required. Which is useful. So we can thin the line when we start getting some good babies. We do have a pretty wife, so maybe we should keep her around. She is 36, so she might still pop out a sprog or two. Our current heir is Shawata Jura, who is decent, so we're quite happy with that. Who is educating her at the moment? Because it should be us. Who is educating her? Not us. Mari, you're my kid. But I could kind of do with you getting educated by someone else, kid. Diobi here will do. Because I think we should be educating our heir. There we go. We do not have feudalism yet. To get feudalism, we're going to need to have unlocked the vast majority of the tribal stuff, which we are way off being able to do. I mean, one thing we could potentially do if we wanted to push for feudalism is we could lean towards learning for a future ruler. Actually, it's a good point. What's our lifestyle traits? So we've gone military. Well, it's not the worst of the military ones we've gone through. It's actually quite relatively useful, the military ones. Chocolate is absolutely allowed for breakfast. I had a Greg's bacon and sausage roll, but chocolate is an acceptable alternative if Greg's delivery is not an option. I suspect we probably want to flip to stewardship. The alternative is we go learning. Actually, we should probably go learning first, because we've got a kid to raise, haven't we? And that would allow us to take scientific, which would give us cultural fascination progress, and it gives us a massive boost on that. So let's go... Let's go medicine for a while. We should probably have gone scholarship, but we'll pick up scientific pedagogy and push for the know thyself. We've now warded our daughter, so we've got our heir warded, which is good. Now, what territories are we actually controlling here? Because we definitely do not need to control all of this. That is a lot of territory we are controlling. I think it's mostly because we were hanging on to the religious sites, weren't we, while we reformed the religion. That is quite a nice place. That is quite a nice place. So what are our holy site perks? So we're getting... That we don't need to hold to get. So none of these we need to hold to get the benefits from. I think we ditched the holy sites, at least for now. As in, we parcel them out to kids. Because I don't think we're going to get any real benefit from them at the moment. We can't build special buildings in them. I mean, that one does have a lot of nice slots, but I just don't think there's a lot of value versus... Well, what are we actually holding on to here? So our core duchy is that one. So we've got 2 in our core duchy, which we want. We currently also hold 2 in Katsina, which is probably good, so we want that. I suspect it's because we're tribal, which won't help. But it might just be that there's no special buildings for what we've taken in terms of the combination of tenets. I don't think we really need Yauri here. Let's ditch Yauri. Good morning, Maddox. Let's ditch Yauri. We could marry our kids off. Oh, hello. Who are you? We kind of want someone in our kingdom already, though, because it's going to be a betrothal. Is our niece a ruler of anything? She is not. She is unlanded, and she has good traits. Fatima, would you like some land? But marry my son first. Marry your cousin first. Because I can't grant her titles. So I think we do that. So let's unpause, get that marriage. I mean, she is the heir of that, but I mean, it's Yauri's. I mean, do we? She's the heir to the Duchy of Gobir. Maybe we don't. I mean, it's still a good marriage to have, but maybe we don't want to give her that as well. Let's just give that to someone vaguely decent. What are we missing in council terms? First things first, can we get someone who's better at learning? We can't. That's annoying. We need a better steward. We need a steward. I assume we have powerful vassals, so let's have a look at which powerful vassals expect what. You, I suspect, are going to be our spy master. But we are probably going to have to sway you as well. Decent marshal. Decent steward. Potentially also a decent marshal. Not that decent at much. Yeah, we could try for. I think we keep the concubines in the religion. Don't think any of these would make. Yeah, but we want him as steward. Right. Gaddy is our steward. Our marshal is you. And Ramekin here. Are you really the best we can do? You are not. We have some minor control issues. Let's deal with them. We can create a touchy of Gobir if we want to. We have the gold for it. Why don't you like us? Yeah, so the thing on that stat there is their prowess, so it's how good they are in a fight, basically. Which applies both to their personal dueling and also applies as a contributing factor to their ability to lead in battle. You want knights with high prowess, basically. Ah, the book. The book is learning. So actually what we're looking for at the moment, this is why we could kind of do with a better, because the learning stat is the primary stat for our Sidibe, and that influences how quickly we build those cultural fascinations. So part of me thinks that actually we do want to try and get ourselves, because we're allowed to fire our Sidibe once per reign, and I wonder if we want to see if we can find someone who's young and has got good skills in learning that we could then make our Sidibe. Which we could use children to try and do, but yeah, our religious, how we reformed the religion. Let's have a look. So we've got a spiritual head of faith. And our clerical gender is women only. So we need a woman with very high learning. Now what we could do... Ooh, he's decent. Do we have any... Right, he's our mare son. So we could actually marry our mare son off to someone. Like, if we could find someone who had high learning. So it kind of depends on how fussed we are about him having kids. And probably not. We've got a reasonable line. But they do need to be of our religion. So we could marry him to Chinaza here. It's a good question. Do we have consorts and concubines? I don't think we do. I think we ditched it. No, we have got concubines. We can take concubines. So we could theoretically find a concubine. We might not be able to because we're male. Might be that only women can take concubines. I'm not sure how concubines works with primary genders. Because remember, we are a primarily female religion now. We're female first. So I think we couldn't. I think you're absolutely right. We could do that if we don't think that's worth it because they're not going to join the court for long. Do we have anyone in our court who's unmarried? That we could marry off? Don't think so. We might just have to wait. I think we'll wait until one of our kids grows up and then try and marry them off. In the meantime, we still need to give some stuff away. So, Yaori can go to someone who is... Give it to our son. Is he the one we just betrothed? No, we didn't. Let's give him some land. But let's marry him off first. Let's find him a nice wife. She's preggo, so we're not going to marry her. We could get some Norse in the veins. That's something we could do. We could culture flip. We could culture flip, and that would take us to something, to a culture that's more advanced and is near to being feudal. We could do that. I kind of want to keep our original culture, though. No, I think we will keep our culture. We're Hausaland. We want to be Hausa. Also, next week's stream is basically going to be called Welcome to the House of Fun. There's not a lot of good quality here in terms of what we can find spouse-wise. I mean, we kind of want inheritable traits. It pops up in game every now and again down this way. Are you an heir to anything? Daughter of Chieftain Eridisu. You're not. She'd be decent. Let's betroth them to her. Ooh, no, smart baby. Smart baby. Married a smart girl. Now we can give him some land. Right, 2 more to ditch. Just because I get paranoid about losing the ability to then do the betrothal. Now actually, because he's of my dynasty, I should be fine. I should actually still be able to control who inherits. But I'm always a bit paranoid about it. So just for safety's sake, it's worth doing. Right, let's push on and ditch. So Sokoto is probably one we don't... Or are we keeping... What was the third duchy we want to keep? I have a feeling we actually want to keep down here. Because it's decent territory. And that's a hell of a decent duchy to keep hold of. So I think if we're claiming that's the third duchy we're keeping hold of. Because at the moment we've got Kingdom of Hausaland, Kebi, Chieftain of Katsina. And then we're down to Chieftains. So I think we ditch Sokoto. And yeah, there's not really... Oh, we've got some nice buildings in it. What duchy is it part of? Oh no, it's part of Kebi. I'm kind of torn as to whether to keep that or not. I think we can just ditch that one onto someone reasonable. Ideally someone who isn't going to inherit stuff. How about we give it to our quick, bastard, melancholic, irritable brother? He sounds like he wouldn't be trouble in any kind of way. You're quite pretty and you're our nephew, so you can have it. Yeah, she's not very good. The other thing we could do is divorce our wife. Means our priest hates us. Our priest hates us already anyway. Sorry about that, Udo. I'll tell you what, Udo, what you can have, though... We could give her some territory. We'll give her some territory when we conquer some new territory. Now we need to marry someone. Would be quite nice to have someone who could potentially still pop out Sprog. Yeah, I mean that's the thing, firing the priest is already on the to-do list, so... Depends on whether we're marrying for stewardship or whether we're marrying for traits. Thing is, we've already got 2 reasonable kids, so we don't need more kids. So actually what we could do is just not marry for... We could just marry for stewardship. Where the sexy old ladies at? Would like to meet sexy grandmas with high stewardship. Yeah, exactly. You know, all of the, sexy grannies in our area with high stewardship. Text me, ladies. We could marry Chinaza here. We want Chinaza in our court. That's our new priest, surely. Where's she chilling at the moment? Could we seduce her? We could seduce her, invite her over, make her our priest. Yeah, I think we do that. I think you're right, Lord of Alba. I think we seduce Chinaza here. I do think we want to find a nice, sexy older lady with high stewardship. So we want female, unmarried. Oh, it's going to give us a prestige hit though. I think we stay single for now. Let's stay single. Let's stay single and ditch one more bit of territory. I mean, to be fair, in medieval era, yeah, 34 probably was verging on sexy granny status. So we theoretically, we either need to marry or we need to... Oh, maybe we do just marry. She's going to be depressingly fertile. Oh, Mabassi here's getting on in years. Oh no, and Dugwi. Let's go Mabassi's patient, brave, and diligent. She sounds nice. Dugwi's chaste. But she's also 45, so... She's stubborn, just, and chaste. That does not sound like fun at the dinner table. Let's go with Mabassi. It's going to give us a 300 hit, but... It means we can hold on to the territory, so... And we've got a bit of gold, so what we can actually do is host a feast. I've no idea who it just got on this alliance with. The Sheikdom of Janets. All the Janets like us. Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Stevenage. It's pretty common that way, out that way. We will give our son an alliance. We could create one of these. Lots of events happening. Which of these... we haven't created Cano, so we should actually create Cano. My lord, the wine! We cracked open the next barrel. It has gone bad. It has all gone bad. No bad wine. The feast is still raging, but without drink the mood is sure to dwindle at a cool pace. Buy more wine! We need to create that anyway, so... Let's just create that. That's going to give us a bunch of prestige. With everyone headed for their respective homes, I am proud to say that my feast was a success. Excellent. Good feasting. AAA would feast again. Does anyone want to pledge fealty to us? Anyone? Beulah? Nope. Right, well then the question becomes... How should I approach Chinaza? She seems like a reserved individual who prefers silence as a companion. At least that's how she appears on the surface. Who knows what sort of person she is in private? Is she meek and submissive, or perhaps passionate and fiery? I'll find out once I have breached her stony exterior. Generally speaking, if you're trying to seduce someone, describing them as having a stony exterior is not going to get them to like you more. I mean, we've got 95% success chance anyway, so I don't think we need to risk building a bad impression. Oh, by the way, there is actually a new way you can spend your hooks, I think. I believe I added it. I think I added it. Yes, I did. There is indeed a new way to spend your hooks. As in your hooks in channel points, not hooks in actual game. Right, so that's the basic admin out of the way. We have 5,000 troops, which is a nice number of troops. Our marriage means that we are now actually doing all right in realm control. I suspect we will flip her. Actually, we might want to... Yeah, it's really annoying, that. Actually, we're not. We're just going to have her on assist. But if we can pick ourselves up a stewardship point or two, we could flip her to learning. We are very learned. How are we doing on the fascination speed? Oh, Ledger's going to give us a domain limit. So we can flip her to learning in a few months. Maybe we really mainline learning on this for this ruler. Yeah, maybe we just do that. Malia, the Chancellor of my niece Sarkina Gadi, has brought forward undeniable evidence that my kinsman Fodi was fathered by none other than him. I mean, whatever, dude. Zonahedron redeemed Histofact, 2,000 points. Random Histofact. Up until the middle to late 17th century, everyone didn't think Hadrian built Hadrian's Wall. Everyone thought it was the Emperor Antoninus that built what we now know as Hadrian's Wall. And if you'd said it was built by Hadrian, you would have just got laughed out of any kind of meeting of historical-minded people. And all of this was largely because Bede had noted it down as being Antoninus' wall, and no one wanted to dispute what Bede said, even though Bede was absolutely fucking wrong about it. There is a wonderful story about how that actually comes to pass, which I'll tell at some point on Twitter. I'll do a Twitter thread on it, which is essentially the person who actually properly works out for the first time that it was actually built by Hadrian was a priest from Northumbria, and he was actually writing a sort of walking history of Northumbria, and as he was doing that, it meant he spent a lot of time walking along Hadrian's Wall, and he kept seeing all of this, what we would now call archaeological evidence, that just basically proved that there was no way on earth it was built by Antoninus. And he eventually published all of that information in his history of Northumbria. But because he was writing a history of Northumbria, he didn't want to get sidetracked into a whole book about Hadrian. So he did it in a footnote, and that footnote is 175 pages long. So he created a 175-page footnote that definitively proved that Hadrian's Wall was built by Hadrian. So there you go. There's your history fact. Well, this is the thing. They hadn't really kind of looked into the Antonine Wall. The book was about 300 pages long. The book is actually on Google Books. You can actually read it online. You can read that footnote online. I will definitely do a thread on it at some point. It's fascinating. So yeah, it's the most kind of country priest thing ever as well, that he didn't really want to make a big fuss about it. Someone else cashed in one as well, didn't they? Who else cashed? Did someone else cash one in? Oh yeah, Orloff cashed one in. Random historical fact. The actor Richard Todd, who plays Major Howard of the paratroop regiment in The Longest Day, the film The Longest Day, he plays Major Howard, who captures the Pegasus Bridge, which is one of the critical bridges that the Allies need to hold so that they can prevent the Germans from reinforcing the German troops at D-Day. So Richard Todd played Major Howard in the film, and is filmed capturing the bridge, and in real life Richard Todd was actually on that mission and was one of the people who with Major Howard captured the bridge, to the point where when they made the film they asked him if he would consider playing himself rather than playing Major Howard. Richard Todd replied, I think after 30 years I'm due a promotion. I'll play Major Howard instead, please. But actually he is in that film essentially both as a character and as an actor. because he has to give orders to the actor playing himself in the film. The celebrations had come to an end and the evening's entertainment seemed to be over when Chinaza suggested a reading. A clerk soon arrives, wondering what the guests would like to hear. What do we think she likes in reading terms? She's big on learning. She's content, she's patient, she's diligent. No, as with everyone else, she loves a bit of Mills and Boon. Right. So we should probably start thinking about conquering. Did we manage to pick anything on our religious stuff that gave us bonuses and advantages in terms of wars? So we've got the offense, we've got Warmonger, which is really useful. Oh, we get a massive boost to conversion. We went with a massive boost to conversion, didn't we? Is there anywhere that needs converting? She's converting already. Can you stop people killing me, please? Promote culture. Not my cat's alright. I haven't seen him yet today. He's in a bit of a funny mood at the moment. I think primarily because... Go with that one. It's the kind of weather where he wants to be running around outside, and he often runs around in our garden rather than next door's garden, because our garden's more fun. But he's also worried about the rain, so he seems to be spending a lot of times in asleep in their front window at the moment. I see him whenever I take the rubbish out or something, and he pretends that he hasn't seen me, because he likes to. He's absolutely convinced. Not my cat is absolutely convinced that we and the neighbours don't know that he has two houses. I am quite famous already, thank you, bot. I do not need you. Now I just need to remember how I actually nuke bots. How do I nuke bots? Why is it so hard to do from the actual fucking control panel, where it should be the most easy thing to do? Do I have to click on their name again? Yeah, it's like 4 clicks to do it via the actual planner, which is insane. And like, you're basically like, you try and report it for spam midstream, it's like 50 freaking questions. Bot. Right, that is blocked. Blocked. That is indeed where you have mods. Who wants to be a mod? I should make someone a mod. You came all this way for me, my sunshine? After searching the hallways of Chinaza's castle, clad in servant's garb to avoid notice, I find Chinaza in a secluded garden. She lights up as she sees me, and the sight of her lights me up in turn. The ratty shirt I had donned soon lies forgotten on the floor as we spend the whole night making sure my journey was worth the effort. For you I would do this journey 100 times over. Now please join my court and become my priest. She joined my court yet? Why can't we make her our priest? She's eligible. She's the right religion. Yeah, she says she's in our court now, though. Located in Dowra, which is us, isn't it? Yeah, look, Dowra. She's in our court, so we can grant her titles. Does she actually have to have a religious title? There we go. Well, it's safe to say our priest likes us now. Apparently we're going to war, are we? To the serene Sarkin Bawa of Hausaland, I call on you to honour our alliance and join me in the Janiton. Oh, the Janets want us to help out. God damn it, Janet. Who are you going to war with? I mean, obviously we're accepting, but... He's got... Oh, you're going up against the Toast. It's Janet's versus the Toasts. How many troops have you got? So basically what you want me to win this war for you, don't you, Janet? Is this actually one of our counties? No. We're just marrying her daughter off. I mean, we'll accept. We're not doing anything, though. Right. Do we want to build or do we want to war? Do we want to build a war? Can we build anything? We probably want... Absolutely keep trusting. This makes it far easier for me to kill you if I need to. We might as well put some palisades there. We want to make sure that longhouses are everywhere we can have longhouses. Give me some gathering halls. And we were keeping down here as well, weren't we? Give me gathering halls. Ah, we can't afford them yet. Once we can go on a hunt, we can do that. We're doing quite well for prestige earning. Make her convert something as well. Was she not converting anywhere? Let's have a look. You are absolutely right. She is not, and she absolutely should be. What's our level of prestige? So we're not illustrious yet, so we can't do any nice, sexy conquests. But we could do a little war against someone. I mean, who are your allies? We could beat them. We could easily win that war. Easily win that war. So the other nice thing, and this is one of the reasons with our religion that we went for warmonger, is it means that actually our people should reasonably be expanding stuff as well. So you can actually see already that they're eating Quarafa. So there's a certain amount of other people doing conquering for us, which is really useful. We could actually just ourselves go to war with Quara if we wanted. No, decent kid. Decent kid. This guy's lived a life. He's a 50-year-old wise man pilgrim, a novice hunter, and a seducer. I'm inspecting the barracks infirmary when a severely injured soldier is brought in. She's losing too much blood. Where is the physician? Oh, 84% chance. Yeah, damn right. I saved a life today. Give me pedagogy, please. We have an heir to raise. I think we probably go after Ibibo. No, actually, he's 50 years old. Let's let him die, and then we'll go after his territory when he's got less troops. I think we maybe just want to go for that. Because I think that's part of our duchy anyway, or the duchy we want. War, war, war! You go there. You go there. You stand in the middle. Well, we won the Janet War. Don't know how, but I'm glad we did. In a few days' time, my rattling cousin Debegume will travel through Sokoto. If you orchestrate an ambush and capture him, I will reward you generously. If you accept my offer, you will get half of the money now and the other half when you turn him over. I mean, there's a good chance we could do it. I think we pretend to accept, but warn Ajimuda in secret. Right, we've got Ledger. That's given us 7, so we could actually now super optimize on knowledge, and probably should. You are a most honourable man, Lord Bio. I owe my freedom, perhaps even my life. Who knows what the abhorrent coward Magan Yusuboy would have done me had it ended up in his dungeon. No problem, buddy. Glad we could help. Oh, go away. You're my rival anyway. And I am absolutely going to conquer your kingdom the first opportunity I get. Chat, do me a favour and watch for the conversion warning saying that the conversion is done, because I will probably miss it. And we do need to keep kind of aggressively converting. So we're going to flip her to patronage. You guys might as well just go there and finish them off. Let's see how quickly these are going now. So we've got 36 years on currency. I feel like we should maybe push Onaga or Mots. Actually, we probably want city planning. We want city planning. Let's push on city planning. 20 years. But we can knock a whole bunch of years off of that. War's over. War is over. We can actually usurp her title as well. It's going to cost us a ton of gold, but is it worth it? We'd have to give it out. Let's ransom some prisoners. Oh, we can create a kingdom. Oh, we should absolutely create that, because that will give us less independence problems. Because then we'll hold 2 kingdom titles. Which means we have to be very careful in inheritance terms. But it is very useful. Because essentially it means this territory is less likely to join independence factions now. He's got a lot of troops. Yeah, I mean, it's worth it for the prestige boost. Right, we need to give that to someone, or are we keeping it? Might be one we keep. But if we're keeping it, we've got to ditch something else. And these are all quite nice. It's kind of like, I don't really want to ditch any of those. What do you think, chat? Do we ditch one of these territories so that we can keep hold of Idoma? Or do we just ditch Idoma? Maybe we just ditch Idoma. Got a nice bit of Bori going on up here as well. Yeah, I think we just hand out a Doma. Who are we giving it to? Anyone got decent traits? What are you focused on, actually? Intrigue. Do we want her focused on intrigue? Do we want our heir focused... We probably actually want her focused on stewardship. Although it's going to give her a negative. She's not going to be great at it. I think we do want her focused on stewardship. And then what we can do... Because at least that means then she'll get that as the trait when we pick Groom to Rule. So we ideally want people with traits getting things. Oh, Bowo. Hey, boy. Bowo, would you like some land? Would you like to find a trait-heavy child that you can marry? Like, say, Inadora. As long as you are not the heir. You are not the heir. And then... would you like a Doma? Let's ransom some more prisoners. We do want to give our kid an alliance, because that will protect him. Ransom, ransom, ransom. Which gets our gold back up to a reasonable level. Can we kill him? No, not easily. There's a lot of tiny little places around here. I mean, that we could easily pick on. Because what we could do for some of these places is take them, convert them, and then release them. Because we don't, as I say, we don't need to control everything. We don't actually have to hold it all. We just need it to be one religion. While I was in the castle with Shawata, her attention was caught by a criminal chained in the pillory. Shawata lifted her head and made a show of ignoring the criminal begging for water. So we can have her keep arrogant, which is going to boost her prestige, but like a lot of people are going to annoy her, because it is actually technically sinful. We can get her compassionate, or she can get callous. I kind of feel like callous would actually be the most useful to her. Lower tyranny gain, dread gain up, dread decay down, intrigue bonuses. I think we'll make her callous. I mean, I feel like we want that as part of our core territory. But he's too powerful to fight directly. We can murder him. But we can't war for his kingdom yet anyway. Because to... Oh, we potentially could. So we could either go for... If we either need to be Paragon of Virtue. I mean, basically, or we invade for the Kingdom of Yorubaland. But we can only do that once, and we need to be exalted among men to be able to pull that off. I kind of wonder whether we should be starting to creep up here. Because this is the good territory, theoretically, that we kind of want to keep hold of. Depends on whether we're going to kind of surprise everyone by coming out of nowhere. Although that's harder for us to hold when it's feudal. So maybe we want to hold off on that until we go feudal. Hey buddy, you have no friends. How you doing? I feel like the Emirate of Bornu is about to become part of our empire. We need Illustrious for that. How far are we off Illustrious? We're not that far off. Just shy of... Yeah, about what, 350? Can we hunt again yet? Oh, I forgot we can do mystical communions. We should do a mystical communion. Right, someone's gonna kill Shakira. Right, cultural fascination progress. Let's get that boosted. Trying to remember if there's anything else here that actually boosts. 20% of cultural counts as skills are added to own. Does Scholar boost it as well? Maybe we carry on pushing down this path. I think we carry on pushing down that path. Oh, we can found holy orders. Ooh, we want a holy order. Oh, we need the barony for that. That's why we need the territory, don't we? That's really annoying. I mean, basically, to go feudal, we need the absolute tribal authority law. We should probably start boosting our traits. We are doing cultural conversions at the moment, but maybe we should be thinking about boosting dev. I mean, Dara's sitting at 7, so we're not that far off of it. It should be fine. Oh, we've gone up a dynasty level. That's nice. Kadama is an astute intellectual, is he? Good for him. Yeah, go get married. Have fun. We are generating a fair chunk of cash. The reason I'm not creating these titles, by the way, is because it's actually very useful for us not to have them. We will assert that one, though. Right, there we go. We're now on illustrious, so we can do that duchy war for Bornu. Emirate of Bornu. How you doing, kid? Nice little kingdom you got there. It'd be a shame if someone invaded it. Oh, I see we worked out who was trying to kill Shakira. So what is a barony? Okay. So, this whole area is a chiefdom. A barony is one of these little division bits. But you've also got to be feudal. But you see how, like, that little subsection there, and it doesn't have a building in it at the moment? But that's a barony. You go kill them. You go kill that. I mean, that's actually a raiding army, so... maybe you just stand there. And go after them. When they try and walk past us. Oh, hey, they changed their mind. No, don't. Why would you do that? I mean, actually, to be fair, that is going to be our territory, so it is in our interest to kill that off. Yeah, so chieftain here is the county level unit. Because we're tribal. So chieftain maps to sort of earldom, yes, and high chieftain maps broadly to the ducal title. So that is why we're the high chief of. So this is the chiefdom of Kano in the high chiefdom of Kano in the kingdom of Houseland. Don't run away. We just want to be friends. Boo, they don't want to be friends, chat. Now what we probably do want to do is, when we're not commanding an army, is do a feast. Or do a hunt. Hey friends! Hey friends, it's us with our, Jesus Christ, our commander advantage of 30. Damn. Hey friends! Good to see you. Come again. All brave. We could actually have her keep brave. Doesn't calm give stewardship birth? No, it doesn't. Brave is martial prowess. I think it's a virtuous trait for us as well, so. More friends. Hello, friends. Will you be our friends too? Hello, friends. Oh wait, sorry, more people are cashing in histofacts. An interesting history fact that people might not know. I'll give you a snippet of a fact that I will write up in a Twitter thread at some point, but I need to look into it more. Which is that in the middle of the fall of Amsterdam in World War II, at the beginning of World War II, Amsterdam and Antwerp were the capitals of pretty much the world's supply of industrial diamonds, which is what you kind of need a lot of for things like doing rifling in guns and particularly tank barrels, gun barrels. So one of the reasons the Nazis pushed very heavily to occupy Amsterdam and Antwerp as quickly as possible was because they wanted to secure the world supply of, or the known European supply at that point, of industrial diamonds. The Dutch Jewish community conspired with British intelligence to essentially liberate all of the industrial diamonds from Amsterdam before the Nazis could get their hands on them and spirit them away on a British destroyer back to the UK, which they managed to do, and that essentially prevented for a good year and a half or so Germany's massively limited how many tanks they could produce. And that's because there was another, as Jorg the Earthling cashed in and Clan William cashed both of them in. The other thing that the organisation that would become the SOE was doing at exactly the same time. This is one of the first kind of SOE missions. Was they were busy helping the French remove all of their gold from their treasury and get it out of the country before the Nazis occupied Paris. I believe they managed to take about £9 million worth of gold from the French treasury and evacuate it via the Bay of Biscay on another British destroyer. Yes, it's one of the reasons why the Germans were so active, or wanted to be active in Africa. The real sources of industrial diamonds were they were the territory we're playing now. I think we carry on going down this. We'll go with that one. Actually, the territory that was the biggest supplier of industrial diamonds was all around here. And what ended up happening was the Germans had to create an entire smuggling network around smuggling industrial diamonds out of here and out of South Africa. and the British spent most of the war trying to shut that down. There's lots of kind of fascinating stories about it. Pounds of money, which if you then translate into money from the time is quite a lot. Particularly as they were doing it without the official French government knowing. They were doing it with people who are sympathetic to the Allied cause rather than to Vichy. I only know they did it because when I was going through the papers in the National Archive, some of the early SOE papers, it turns up as a bullet point on one of their early operations. Oh no! One of our daughters died. Dead baby. Sad. I don't really want them liberating that, because that's the war goal. So I think we might pull you back and tell you to go and kill them, because that siege is almost done, and that'll probably win us bits. We gave the gold to the Free French, and the Free French used it. The real tragedy was actually the industrial diamonds. So the British offered the Jewish community of Amsterdam receipts so that they could claim after the war and claim compensation for the industrial diamonds that they'd given to the Allies. But the Jewish community turned them down because they knew, obviously, with the Germans coming, that having something like that kind of document, it's bad enough being Jewish in Amsterdam under the Nazi occupation, but having a document like that would have proven that they'd worked with the British. So they turned them down, but the British government gave assurances that post-war, anyone who came forward and could demonstrate with reasonable evidence that they donated to the Industrial Diamonds Fund, essentially, or supply, would be fully compensated, and the British government did do that. That the tragedy, of course, was there weren't a lot of Dutch Jews left. The Jewish community in Amsterdam was absolutely savaged, and in Holland in general in the war. So there weren't really a lot of people to come back forward and claim, which is sad. Good morning or afternoon to you, Poncho Viking. So the SOE papers are a mix. So a lot of them are private. They're still under restrictions. But various papers from before they were officially SOE are actually in the National Archive. That includes the first official history of SOE that was written by the kind of the official historian just as the war was closing. Why is this not ticking over to 100%? It's really annoying. So if you just go on the National Archives website and just do a search for industrial diamonds, you'll get a whole bunch of paper references, and every single one of those papers is worth checking out. I hope that satisfies counts for both Jorg the Earthling and Clan William as a interesting history fact thing. There's also 3 really good books. They're quite old and you have to find them second hand, but they are written about the history of SOE in Europe, and they kind of predate the modern tendency to have kind of breathless history books that try and claim everything is new. Is this war bugged? Like, why is that not? We should have ticking. Why don't we have ticking war score? Die. I mean, we'll win when we get that siege, surely. Have we got full 50? So we've got the maximum for battles. Oh, it says we don't hold any objectives. What did we actually go to war for then? I thought we went to war for Bornu. Yeah, we did. How bizarre. Yes, I mean, what's actually fascinating about the diamonds thing, and not a lot of people have researched this, and I will write it up. There is actually a film. There is a film made in the 50s that essentially is based on a book called, I think, Adventures in Diamonds, which is meant to be an entirely fictional account of a raid on Amsterdam to get diamonds and all this kind of stuff, but is actually 99% accurate. It was the classic thing that a lot of kind of SOE or post-SOE agents or related like journalists who'd worked in fields with them did, which in the period, which was actually to write, in inverted commas, fiction books that actually covered an awful lot of what SOE agents had done in real life before the government and authorities got wise to it and started stopping them doing it. And I think it's the film version of that is entirely up on YouTube. Pretty certain it's called Adventures in Diamonds. And one of the things that is in it that isn't fiction, as far as I can tell, is one of the problems with getting the industrial diamonds out of Amsterdam as the Germans were marching in from the other side was that a lot of the Jewish banking families said, yeah, absolutely, or diamond merchants said, yes, you can take our diamonds. But the big problem was they were all stored in the main vault, the vault of the main bank of Amsterdam, one of the main banks in Amsterdam, and that vault was time locked. So they had to blow the vault. They literally had to blow open the vault to get the diamonds out and get away before the Nazis walked in from the other side. Did that blitz out your link? I'm not sure if I can undo that so you can post links. I need to work out how I can get it so that it lets people post links after a certain amount of time. And that might be a stream elements setting. But yeah, if you've got a link, ping it to me and I'll just whisper it to me and I'll post it in chat, because it normally lets me post links. But I mean, the film and to a certain extent the book make up a whole bunch of stuff about love stories and people falling in love with agents and all of that kind of thing. If someone is a mod, they will be able to post links, but as I say, I've not actually appointed any mods, and I really should do. But yeah, fascinating. I actually know who, through a process of elimination working out, I think I know who were the two primary Amsterdam scions of large Amsterdam bank families, diamond families, who were involved in doing it. And I also know the name of the SOE agent who did it, and I actually managed to track down and chat to his son. And boy howdy did that man live a colourful life. We don't want to being lazy. I think we'd actually rather have her arbitrary than lazy. Yeah, there you go, that's the book. David E. Walker, Adventure in Diamonds. It's a real hacky book. Ooh, we got our girlfriend Prego. It's a really hacky book. It's not a great book, but it is fundamentally accurate. I think we probably want to ransom before we do that, because that dude's going to lose his titles. So we might as well make some cash from them. Yeah, I'm actually, hopefully, assuming that I can actually get out of the country now. I'm all vaccinated and everything else. In September, middle of September, I'm doing a retreat to Dunkirk battlefield tour with some friends. So we'll basically be tracing the route of the BEF as they retreated back to Dunkirk and then home. We will, of course, be using Eurostar rather than trying to get off the beaches at Dunkirk. Yay, we got new territory. So we now control Bornu. Which is nice. Market Garden is such a fascinating operation. It really is. It was an abject lesson in the triumph of hope over planning, but also how small things can go wrong and just absolutely screw you, like the radios. Like how badly they were screwed over by the radios. I actually have another really fun actor-related fact about Market Garden, but I'm not going to tell you. I'll save it for next time someone cashes in a histo fact. Right. So we actually have a decent-sized kingdom now. What we should actually do is see what the related empire is. I'll go on then, you two. Dirk Bogarde, incredible actor, discussed up thread. His autobiographies and writings, by the way, are absolutely brilliant, and you should read them if you can. He plays the general back at home who plans one of the guys who plans Operation Market Garden, in the film A Bridge Too Far. Whilst in the army, Dirk Bogarde was actually involved in Market Garden in the pre-planning, or the liaison for the pre-planning, and then visiting it very soon after the Allies did eventually overrun the position. So he saw it all firsthand. He is essentially playing in the film someone who he knew personally and was briefly an adjutant for. Yeah, I mean, the pandemic has really just... Well, we can transfer a vassal, so we should do. Robbing me of the ability to go to battlefields is hugely painful. Right, these have actually broken up down here now, so we could go after them individually. What I did want to do is just see what our empire title is, because we should probably be pushing for that. Ideally before we die. So the Kingdom of Hausaland is a de jure part of the Empire of Kanemboru, which is that. I feel like we want these three empires, and then everything else we just push to convert, maybe. Devon Gypsy sounds fascinating. We'll probably go push for the lifestyle perk, because it would be quite useful. Chat, why didn't you tell me that she'd finished converting? You're rubbish, chat. You meant to tell me when she finishes converting places. Battlefield visits are really interesting because it depends on the battlefield. In some ways they can be really good as they give you a much better idea of the land and how things were fought or anything like that. But in other ways they don't. Technically speaking, you're owed another history fact, aren't you? Because two of you cashed them in. History fact, the battlefield at Waterloo does not look anything. The terrain is completely different from what the terrain was like at Waterloo during the battle. And this is because, about 20 years later, the Dutch decided that they were going to erect a massive monument to the Prince of Orange, the then Prince of Orange, who had led a bunch of troops for Wellington at the time, and by that point was king. I think he was by that point king of the Netherlands. To erect that monument, they erected what is known as the Lion Mound. And the Lion Mound meant that they scraped the top level of terrain from the entire battlefield, which isn't actually that big in terms. You're only looking at about 1,000 meters. I think it's about a click square. No, it might be a couple of clicks square. They basically just scraped all of the terrain and all of the hills into one giant mound, which now sits in the middle of the battlefield and has a big frickin' lion statue on the top of it. So they just absolutely destroyed the terrain. So if you go to Waterloo now, be wary of any guide who turns around and goes, and they were over here and you can see it goes up this nice gentle hill to blah blah, because it's not true. Like, there are features there that are still accurate, but not a lot of them. The destruction was so huge that when the Duke of Wellington returned to the battlefield, before he died, on like one of the kind of anniversary things, he took one look at it and went, "My God, they've destroyed my battlefield," because he could just see how different the terrain actually was. Crazy stuff. We keep popping out sprogs with our priestess, don't we? They're not bad sprogs. Now, if we need a spare baby, we've actually got a few decent spare babies now. Yeah, Gettysburg's on my list for the next time I'm over in the US, because I've never actually been to Gettysburg. Part of the problem with visiting battlefields in the US is you need to kind of be able to drive, and I can't drive. Because America doesn't really do public transport. So it's often the case of trying to go, right, well actually can I find a tour that's going to go there that I can go with and go on. But yeah, Gettysburg is very much on my list. Well, you joke. I mean, that's actually one of the things I end up sometimes doing. Is basically just saying to mates, "Look, I will pay for your ticket. Let's go to France for a weekend and drive around some battlefields." Texas battlefields. There's a few interesting Texas battlefields actually. There's some interesting Civil War stuff that happens in Texas that everyone forgets about. Just because it's all blah 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 Alamo is kind of the general level of history conversation over in Texas a lot of the time. Conversation over cakes. My entourage and I are strolling back from a short foray into Dowra when we unexpectedly run across my son. Oh, we can have some cakes with our son. Yeah, let's have some cakes with our son. Danakaran comes of age. The crazy ones with gliders are, I don't think I've got a scene set up for... Chrome, I'd show you. I should set up a scene for Chrome. The Pegasus Bridge landing ground. Hang on, no, I'll take a second. Let me show you, because this is pretty it is pretty crazy what they get up to. Let me do this, because I don't think people realise how crazy some of the glider pilots were, and had to be. Let me go to Google Earth. And I'll share this window. Once it opens. Come on, Google Earth, you know you want to open. There we go. let's go for search. And let Google Earth do its thing very slowly. There we go. Right, let me share this. Twitch Studio. So you're going to get a little bit of map in the bottom corner at the moment. You're about to get a lot more map. Don't worry. Because I think this will work. If I flip to this. You should hopefully now be looking at a Google Earth map with another little Google map in the bottom, but we'll get rid of that. Let's hide that layer temporarily. Which is that layer. Let's hide that. You should indeed be looking at a huge map of a river. So what you're looking at here is Pegasus Bridge. So Pegasus Bridge, if you look, if I zoom out, that's where it is in France. So you can see you've got the Normandy landings going on all around here. Pegasus Bridge is absolutely critical, holding that across that river. If you hold that bridge, you stop all of the German reinforcements from essentially taking the Allies in the flank. So Pegasus Bridge was a critical operation, and the way they went for it was gliders. So this is the bridge that Richard Todd helped capture under Major Howard of the Paras, I think it was the Paras. So again, like you can see, Google Earth's really good for this. It's why we do battlefield tours using Google Earth, the virtual ones. So you can just see why holding that bridge is so critical to stopping you getting hit in the flank. So they did that by flinging gliders in. So the gliders had to go in, land, drop the people off and take the bridge. Obviously the critical thing is you need to get that bridge, ideally before the Germans can blow the damn thing up, because you want to hold it, not blow it, because you want to use that bridge later on. But the Germans are not stupid, so all around this whole area they've got glider defences. So these are big giant metal poles in the ground that you just stick in and they just shred the wooden gliders as they come in. So if you look at the bridge here and everything else, see this little patch of green here? So you can kind of see cars there for sense of scale and size. This was the only bit of ground that the Germans hadn't put glider defences against, because they figured it was way too small for anyone to land a glider or do anything on, because it's sandwiched right between the river. You've got another lake there as well. You had all these trees were there at the time. All these trees were there at the time. You had a pillbox there. You had another pillbox there. So they'd done loads of defences all over these kind of fields to stop people just landing in like that. The British managed to land a glider, there's a tractor there for your reference size, in that space there. Like actually land an entire 3 gliders in fact in that space there. And then they dumped all the people out, they ran very quickly to the bridge and they took the bridge. There's actually, funny thing here is, where is it? There's a cafe there. And the guy who runs the cafe saw the British doing it and kind of took one look out the window, almost got shot and stuck his head back in and then started hanging flags out. But yeah, so that stretch of ground there is where they managed to land the gliders. Like that takes absolute guts. Yes, his family do still run the cafe. It's crazy. And I think actually if we do that, I don't know if there's actually a marker point, but I don't think there is. That I think is the glider memorial. I think. Might be there. Might be that one. Yeah, there you go. So that is the Pegasus Centre today, where they kind of have the memorial. But yeah, I mean, it's just absolutely crazy stuff. The idea that you can just land in that space an entire unpowered aircraft and get to the bridge and take the bridge. It's absolute scenes. Anyway, back to game. So now you can see my visualizer in its full form. And let me just flip you back to game mode. Just need to capture that instead. Capture. So we want to unhide our browser source. Get to see how the sausages are made here, people. Save that. And let's change our capture back to Crusader Kings 3. There you go. Right, we could do more wars here. We could do more wars. To what extent is Blackadder generals or idiots who didn't care about their troops true? I have some impression that it was from elsewhere, but I don't want to extend. It wasn't really true. It's not so much that the generals... So the lions led by donkeys thing is largely a myth. It's a very prevalent one, and Blackadder didn't create it. Blackadder was very much of the era where that was the overriding belief. I think what we kind of think now in history terms is, in fact, this one I can actually. I could flip back and do this again. I could flip back to Chrome and give you the short version. Yeah, go on. It's a nice lazy Sunday. Why not? Right, let me do that again then. So let's use La Boisselle as an example, which is on the Somme. So let me go to La Boisselle. No, not maps, Google Earth. I may actually have to just set up a scene for this so we can do this more in future. Yeah, absolutely. I can send you... I've customized it slightly in CSS and JS terms. Just ping me on the Discord, and I'll chuck you the source files and the link. Right. Map view is back up. Give me 1 second, because what I'm actually going to do is just actually set up a proper scene for this. Then it's just easier to flip between them. So let's add that, and let's do main screen share, because that's going to make that easier. And I think that will then work. Right. So this is just a main screen share, so it's not got alerts or anything set up on it, but that shouldn't be a problem. What it should mean is if I do this, I have to kind of watch the stream and see if it changes, because I'm not sure if it will. But we'll see. No, I don't think it is. Okay, fair enough. But actually I can just change the capture now. Let's change the capture to that. Right, so we're still at Pegasus Bridge at the moment. We're not going to be for long, because we are off to La Boisselle in France. There she blows. So we're jumping back another sort of, what, 30 years from previously for us. Oh, no, not that bit. Not that bit. That's La Boisselle. This is what happens when I'm too far away from the screen and I have everything set to tiny writing. I want La Boisselle. La Boisselle. Boisselle. That one. So we're jumping forward. So we're going to the Somme now. So obviously the Somme in 1916 is where the British are fighting. And the main reason they're fighting here on the Somme, the short version, is to relieve the pressure on Verdun, which is kind of around here somewhere. There the French are. So what you've got, and this is why we're at La Boisselle, is because the British front line on the Somme is, let's find, look at it from this way. So this is Albert. This is the town of Albert. The British front line sort of runs about here, and the Germans are up in La Boisselle, so they're all around here. So the British are attacking over this direction. It's on the 1st of July 1916. Now, if we zoom in closer, you will see a big frickin' hole in the ground there. Big frickin' hole in the ground. That is the remains of one of two giant mines that was set off under the German trenches to try and kind of bust through the German trenches and destroy all of their kind of defensive emplacements and all this kind of stuff. The other one is no longer there. The evidence of it is no longer there. But you can work out where it is. Do you notice these two gardens here don't have a lot of trees in? That's because that's where the other mine went off. Yes, tunnelling, exactly. See this little green line there? That actually follows the path of where the tunnels were dug from the British trenches over to there. They blew the mine to try and take it out. They did a massive artillery barrage as well. Massive artillery barrage to try and stop that. In fact, actually, let me do this. Hang on, let me very quickly, if I, yeah, this will work. Right, let's mute Crusader Kings temporarily. So if we go, or if I go rather, to my musics folder. So I'm just diving in the background here to wherever I actually store these things. Open folder. So yeah, so what they were doing with all of that was they were constantly trying to come up with ways to get through the trench lines. They knew that it was, you know, the idea of just doing these kind of over-the-tops was of limited success. But they just didn't have any other options. Because remember, you're before tanks, you're also before radio. And the biggest problem was, it wasn't that you wouldn't take the first line of trenches in a lot of cases. It was you'd take the first line of trenches, and then the Germans knew exactly where you were, so they just shell the shit out of you. And because you couldn't send back to say, we got the trenches, send help, you were kind of screwed. But that didn't mean that they didn't try and do this stuff. Right, hopefully this won't come out too loud for you. But what you've got here, and we put this together for a tour the other weekend actually. So this is the account of one of the German machine gunners receiving, who when on the first day of the Somme, when the kind of an on the top came towards them. This is why it all failed, because weaponry had moved beyond where the tactics were, and there was nothing they could do about it. So this is a guy called Emil.
I told my comrades, we must be prepared, the English will attack soon. We got our machine gun ready on the top step of the dugout, and we put all of our equipment on. We waited. We expected to die. Thought of God, and we prayed. Then someone shouted, "They're coming! They're coming!" We rushed up and got our machine gun in position. We could see the English soldiers pouring out at us, thousands and thousands of them. We opened fire.
So that little sound snippet there is really just kind of gives you sort of an idea of what these people were advancing into. The British thought they'd managed to shell out all of the German positions, Turns out that it's really hard to cut barbed wire with shells. The Germans had machine guns and they hadn't been wiped out, and they were able to come out and just take everyone down. And after this, they evolved the tactics, or they tried to evolve the tactics. So in the next stage, which happens up at in 1917, in the offensives, they still do tunneling, but what they start doing is trying to use the tunnels to tunnel as close to the German lines as possible, but then actually using them to kind of get troops to rush out from them to get over the top. Now, again, that had limited success, but it was another attempt to try and do something different. So this is really what I'm going to get to with the lions led by donkeys thing, is it's a very, very simplistic view. And what it assumes is that the generals didn't realize, or the people in charge and the planners didn't realize that what they were doing wasn't working. They were constantly realizing that what they were doing wasn't working, and they were constantly trying to innovate and do something different. The problem was that technology had advanced further forward at the time than guns than tactics had. And no one knew how to deal with that. Napoleon would have absolutely recognized the state of warfare in 1914. If you had stuck Napoleon in charge of one of the armies marching around in 1914, he would have felt absolutely at home and he would have commanded it. 4 years later, by 1918, he wouldn't have recognized the nature of warfare. Like, that's how quickly things were changing. And the last one I'll do on this before we dive back to Crusader Kings 3 is when you're trying to think about why the casualties and everything else was so big and why it kind of kicked in. And back to talking about battlefields, the Somme is an incredible battlefield to go visit because the terrain there is very much still as it was. Now, the German front line pretty much ran along this road, so I'm just going to dump us down here. So if I'm going to dump us down here, and then I'll spin us around. Now you can see even from here, so this is the direction they were trying to go in. Look how flat and open that terrain is. And they were coming down off this ridge over this exact same level of flat, open terrain. Like, think back to that clip there with Emil firing his machine gun. You're screwed. Like, there's nothing you can do. And yeah, I mean, yeah, you do. When you come in on you see how flat that whole area is. So if you do want to visit battlefields, I highly recommend the Somme. The Somme is really nice as a walking holiday, actually. You can do some really nice walks around there, based out of places like Albert, which you can kind of just rail hop between them and do stuff. But, I mean, like, it doesn't, until the development of tanks and air power changes the nature of warfare again, all you can do is try and frontally assault things. Or not even necessarily frontally assault, you're trying to go round constantly. There's just limited ability to go round. And, you know, this over here, if we look to this direction, you see that ridge line up there? This is where actually the British kind of troops, and the Australians actually, there's Australians just beyond that tree line. They're coming down over this hill, and they get pushed back up the top onto this ridge. It's known as the Fricourt Spur. And they actually end up kind of stuck on that ridge, holding little pockets of terrain all around here. But again, remember, there's no radios. So back at kind of base and headquarters over here, they've got no idea whether they've actually managed to take any territory or not. They just don't know. Because they can't get messages back. Because if you've got a little bunch of guys who are sat, actually, this is quite cool. If you slide out to this. So we're back on the map view here. I'm going to zoom out slightly and you'll see what I mean. If you look carefully here, you can still see the trench positions, because actually the tracks tend to mirror them. And if you see the lighter territory over here, that's all former fortifications. You can do this on Google Maps a lot, and people don't, or Google Earth. Like, these are all remains of German trench networks, still visible in the marks they leave on the ground today. So I think people sometimes think of trenches as like you had one line that run down there and then one line that run down there. These are networks. So if you capture this bit here, if I orient myself, so this bit here was what was known as Scott's Redoubt. So this was an enormous network of little trenches and things that the Germans were trying to hold the German trenches. The Royal Scots, 15th Royal Scots and the 16th Royal Scots managed to get this far and capture that terrain on day one of the Somme. But the problem was, your headquarters is all the way back over here. You're now nearer the Germans than headquarters than you are your own, and you've got no radios. The only way you can in any way get messages back to say that you have captured that territory is by sending runners or carrier pigeons. And the Germans know this, so they're shooting pigeons out of the air, and if you try and run back, you try and send a messenger back, they've now got to cover all the land, all of this ground again, which is now being shelled by the Germans because they don't want you getting messengers back. And you just can't hold it. Yeah, no, Speckled Jim, isn't it? Speckled Jim? Pigeons were enormously important. But yeah, so, this is why the First World War tactics were constantly evolving and they were trying to do what they could do, but they utterly failed. Because warfare was changing and it was changing too fast. But this area here is a good one to visit. I mean, it's just spectacular to look down. You can see here just from the air where the trench lines were and everything else. And when you get down there on the ground, you just see the open terrain. And really, don't underestimate how big that crater is where they blew the Earth. I think we probably get a reasonable close-up view on it, just as a final thing. Someone will have done a little viewpoint. Let's see if someone's done a decent viewpoint. Not necessarily useful, that viewpoint. Cheers, whoever took that one. I suppose it is if you want to read the sign thing. But the sheer scale of this, the amount of... so what they had to put in place to blow this up is they had to dig tunnels beneath the German trenches without the Germans spotting it. And they essentially filled those trenches with the equivalent of an entire articulated lorry full of explosives. And that's the result. It's huge. There's a bench there for size comparison. Did aircraft make a significant difference in that war? Yes, certainly towards the end. Primarily because aerial spotting becomes a big thing. And that actually makes a huge difference. In fact, I think I've got another audio. There you go. You can have a second audio clip. This is... so the Somme is one of the first battles where they really start to use aerial kind of surveillance, both before and after. But they don't use it enough, and it's only after this that they realise they really needed to use it more. So this is Cecil Lewis, who is was a pilot above when that mine went off. I think it's Cecil.
We were over Thiepval and turned south to watch the mines. As we sailed down, above all came the final moment, 0. At Boissel, the earth heaved and flashed. A tremendous and magnificent column rose up into the sky. There was an ear-splitting roar, drowning all the guns, flinging the machines sideways in the repercussing air. The earthly column rose higher and higher to almost 4,000 feet. There it hung, or seemed to hang for a moment in the air, like a silhouette of some great cypress tree, then fell away in a widening cone of dust and debris. A moment later came the second mine. Again the roar, the upflung machine, the strange gaunt silhouette invading the sky. Then the dust cleared, and we saw the 2 white eyes of the craters. The barrage had lifted to the second-line trenches. The infantry were over the top. The attack had begun.
So that's Cecil Lewis, who was a spotter pilot flying above this scene as it was unfolding. And 1916 onwards is the point at which air power really becomes to matter. It's not really aerial combat at this stage, and it's not even really bombing. There is aerial bombing, but it's largely ineffective. What it really changes is the ability to just know what's happening on the ground. And that becomes doubly true with the combination of once radios start to get invented. So the 3 technologies that essentially change the nature of war, there's 4 technologies that essentially change the nature of war between 1914 and 1918. And one of those exists right at the beginning, which is machine guns. Machine guns and the ability to rapidly fire changed the nature of kind of attacks. And over the next 4 years, everything is about countering that and countering artillery. How do you then overcome those as problems? So what you end up with is the 3 techs that arrive that change and finally overwhelm the supremacy of the machine gun are radio, aircraft, and tanks. And tanks are actually used on the Somme. The first time they used on the Somme is at Highwood. Highwood is over here somewhere. It's quite hard to place from the air. But tanks change it because they offer a way of getting to enemy lines without being, killed by machine guns. So it's almost as a protective infantry role that they really start to come into their own. Aircraft, because they provide new eyes on the battlefield and can see what's going on even when you can't contact your troops up the front. And radio comes alongside that because it allows you to A, talk to the planes, and then B, talk to the commanders on the ground. So those are the technologies that change everything. And yeah, they didn't really have a big payload capacity. But that didn't start, and you actually get the first aerial bombing campaigns against Britain in World War One. But actually, what that tends to be early on is Zeppelins rather than planes. In fact, let's go to my bad boy. Let me find it. I've got to lean in close so I can actually read what's on the screen. Go on, Google. You know you can find it. So we are going back to Britain. We're going to London. We're going to about 10 minutes away from where I am sitting right now. We are going to the ye old Rose and Crown pub in Walthamstow. So for the record, I am off somewhere in this bottom corner. I'm not going to doss myself, but I'm down there somewhere. This is the Rose and Crown pub in Walthamstow. Note the relative open space around it and behind it. This is because the Rose and Crown in Walthamstow on Hoe Street was one of the first places in the UK or in London to be bombed by a Zeppelin. It was directly bombed by a Zeppelin. So there you go. I think logistics are evolved as well. Railway, didn't it? Yeah, hugely. I mean, it all becomes about logistics. Warfare starts to shift to being about logistics rather than anything else. It's about how many artillery shells can you actually get. There are more shells fired on the first day of the Battle of the Somme than were fired in the entirety of the American Civil War. Like that's how much artillery has changed. Just in the duration. We're in Walthamstow. If you actually, to the point where, if you come over this way, you're now looking at the kind of the Lee Valley. So this is all the Lee Valley. So much of this, what is now green territory in the Lee Valley, was actually temporarily making shells. It was just full of shell factories in World War One, like just making them. Slap bang in the middle of London because they just needed to. So yeah, it's crazy stuff. Yeah, big folk venue, the Rose and Crown, great pub, my main drinking spot. Anyway, let's we've got another hour or so. Let's play some games. I'm boring you. Let's go back to our game stuff. Crusader Kings 3. And let's go on to that. Let's get our mic visualization back. Let's give you some sound back. There we go. But yeah, I find all of that fascinating. If that kind of thing is your thing, it's worth remembering that one of the things startups I'm involved in and do a lot of stuff with is virtual battlefield tours. I think called Virtual Battle Guide. If you Google for Virtual Battle Guide, every Sunday we do tours very similar to what I've just shown you, where we use Google Earth and we annotate it and we have audio clips. We get drone footage, so you get some nice drone footage from the ground, all of that kind of stuff. And we do everything from different battlefields around Europe. And the way we do it is we partner people like me and streamers like me who understand the tech and how to use the tech, with with people who are the legitimate battle guides who will do tours on the ground. So what you get is the benefit of their stories and their knowledge, but with someone like me piloting the stuff so you can see what's going on and all of that kind of thing. In fact, I will show you one more thing that's from one of the tours we're working on at the moment, which is myself and a former cavalry officer by the name of Alex Owen, who is an incredibly knowledgeable person. Me and him did a Battle of Hougoumont at Waterloo a few months ago, and we're doing Badajoz next, which is from the Peninsular War, Wellington's campaigns in the Peninsular War. And what I am just going to pull up to show you from that, because I've just finished compiling it all, is let me set this up quickly. So if we go to Badajoz on Google Earth, let me queue up something secretly in the background, because I have to go into my YouTube video account to do this, so I'm not going to show you. There's the back end of that, just while I set that up. It's Zidane who you have to feel sorry for, by the way, because he's the person who has to consider whether he edits all of this crap out when he does this later on. Okay, yeah, that's the one. Okay, so for one final time today, let's dive back in to Google Earth. So Badajoz is a giant fortress that Wellington has to get past if he wants to invade Spain after holding Napoleon's forces, so Soult and Marmont, in 1812. So let's go to Badajoz. Now the problem we've had with trying to pull together when you kind of show things like this is these kind of fortress cities, and Spain and Italy were full of them in the kind of 19th century. And Badajoz is one of them. So we're just going to dive down to Badajoz here. Now, this is Badajoz today. And you can kind of see where the fortifications sort of were, just from the layout of where streets go and everything else. So it's quite kind of, you can still see roughly that's clearly the original town. There was probably some walls around here. You can tell by the shape of the gardens and all of that kind of stuff. That actually, one of the things that the Spanish government are quite good at is providing all of their LiDAR data. So I've been processing the LiDAR data for Badajoz. And when you strip away the buildings and you start looking at the LiDAR, you really start to get a proper impression of what that ground was like. So the British were essentially having to try and breach the castle from this side over here. And you can see just the walls, you can see where the bastions used to be. You can see the river running through there, so you can see why it was kind of critical like that. So it really kind of takes it to another level. You can kind of really start to get a feel for those battlefields in a way that you can't. Like you can properly feel. And again, this is back to what we were talking about terrain. Once you start moving forward in time, buildings change the nature of the landscape, so it's very hard sometimes to grasp why things were where they are. There was a reason, for example, that the British had a whole bunch of guns over there, because you can just see the elevations. And you can see why even after they captured the fort, they still had problems, because you had another fortification over here that just kept shelling back in. So yeah, it's kind of like... Yeah, we do all that kind of stuff in the stuff. Yeah, I think it is battleguide.co.uk. Yeah, no, it costs you about 15 quid for a ticket. But for essentially like an hour and 20 minutes of a battle guide doing a better version of what I've just done for you there, and then you get a like sort of half hour afterwards to just ask any questions like this you want. It works really well. They're good fun. We really enjoy doing them. Anyway, let's get back to game for the last 45 minutes or so, as that is technically what you came here for. Let's ping back to CK3. Let's get back on our main thing. Let's get our little mic visualizations back up. And we're off. House of Land. Right, we could go for $1 here. I noticed that this poor dude whose kingdom we imploded, we really did implode. So we could absolutely go for his remaining territory. It's probably not a bad idea, because it would allow us to push through for the empire. And having that empire would be quite useful. So I think we probably do that. But we're just worried about the alliances. I mean, they're not the worst alliances. They are slightly larger than I'd like, though. We could pick off Kawar here first. The thing is, everyone around here is in a little bit of a hug box. Everyone's picking up allies all over the place. Like, they're just picking up allies all over the place. Well, Janet's doing well. I mean, the other option is we push up this way. As I say, my main fear, though, is until we get feudalism, we have issues. I'm just trying to think if there's a way we could cheese ourselves to feudalism earlier. Like, how could we get feudalism earlier? I do wonder if a sneaky culture flip might be the way to do it. Hilly Dogs! Thank you very much for the follow. It is very much appreciated. What about to the south, down to the River Delta? Yeah, I mean, it's certainly an option. Because we have a lot of territory to conquer here. Like, a lot. I mean, that's the thing, is maybe we should just push to conquer it all, because then we can take the Unite Africa thing. So we probably do want to push to control the whole lot as a single empire. So we need absolute tribal authority. The problem is, really, we need 70% of these. 70% of 21 is, what, 15? So we need another 9 innovations before we can go feudal. That's a lot. That is a lot. Unite Africa is one of our targets because it makes things a hell of a lot easier. Yeah, you're right, Chile. That 70% is going to take a long time. The alternative, what I can't remember is if feudalism is linked to us and it's linked to the country, not to the culture. Because you can be feudal whilst in a non-feudal culture, and you can be non-feudal whilst having a feudal culture. I genuinely wonder whether we culture flip our heir to something that is a feudal culture that has already unlocked all of the tribal stuff, or we conquer somewhere that is part of a culture that would work. I think we could conquer somewhere that is a culture that has already moved past feudalism. We would then move our capital there and culture convert to local culture. We'd then adopt feudalism, and then we'd go back to being Hausa for our heirs. Although I'm not sure that brings us benefit. I think maybe we just have to keep pushing on learning. That's true. Does the achievement mean we've got to stay tribal? Because that is ultimately what we're going for. What's the actual achievement text? No, just says starting as Magali Vijora, reform an African pagan religion, which we've done, and convert all counties in Africa to it. We don't need to be either Hausa or tribal. So we could flip to a different culture. We could culture flip. Yeah, the Prester John one, the issue there was we needed to be tribal if we wanted to form the Mongol Empire. You have to be tribal to form the Mongol Empire. So yeah, we don't have to be tribal, and getting feudalism as early as possible would massively help us out. So I do wonder whether we culture flip. I mean, essentially we either massively push, but it's going to take a long time. Like, we need another 9 tribal innovations. City planning is going to take us 13 years to finish. It's not the end of the world. But we are rocking an enormous level of learning. And a lot of our heirs aren't going to have that. The other thing is there might actually be some value to us in going to a different culture that gives different things. Monthly Belus, Casus Bellus thing would be beneficial. And Gilman's would be really useful as well. And Andalusian is on the verge of flipping. And it would give us Caballeros. Norse is not far off. Barani's is on 9. I mean, Woot Steel would be nice. But we need to be on the Deccan to get that. I think Andalusian might be what we want to aim for. So we'd either reach up and through. We could either prioritise reaching up and through to give us Diplo range to get Andalusia. Because that's all we need is Diplo range. Yeah, you're right, country girl. It does. But it's a short-term hit. And as long as you've built your treasury up enough to deal with it, it's fine. But what it does mean is this is why if we're going to do it, it's almost like why I'm really almost reluctant to stay Hausa now, because the problem is the moment we flip to feudal, we need to be able to spam out the buildings that make levies and taxes and everything else quickly, because we will take that big hit on conversion. And if we're still essentially Hausa and tribal at that point, we're still not, we won't have unlocked or be close to unlocking a lot of the buildings we need to do that. So I do wonder if culture converting is the only way. Have a think, chat, about whether we do that. Whether we try and do this while staying Hausa, which I think is going to be really hard, or whether we try and be cheeky and push for a culture convert. I'm going to take a quick bio break while we do that. But I will be back in 2 minutes. So do verbally do it in chat. You know, have a think, throw ideas around. Think about other cultures up on that culture map that maybe we should think about converting to if we are going to convert to a different one. And I'm back in a couple of minutes. Right, back, and I have the first beer of the afternoon. It is called The Summer in Zagreb. It is by the Medvedgrad Brewery. It is a wheat beer. The Medvedgrad Brewery has been brewing delicious lagers and ales since 1994. We are the oldest and biggest Croatian craft brewery. All our beers are unfiltered, traditionally brewed on modern equipment while using only the best natural ingredients. We do not use beer finings, preservatives or adjuncts. This beer is dedicated to the famous Zagreb beach on the river Sava that existed at the beginning of the 20th century. Nowadays, when everyone goes on the coast during summer, these times illustrated on the label are only a distant memory. It does have a very pretty label, it has to be said. It is 5.2%. Let's give it a go. Oh, that's nice. That's a very crisp, light Weiss beer. A hint of orange to it. Really, really nice. Really nice. Okay, I feel like it would take about 3-ish generations to get it without the culture flip. Pushing for land bring its own problems, namely succession issues. Exactly. I kind of feel like I don't want us to be having to fight. I mean, the thing is, it feels... It feels more role-playish to do it as the Hausa. And maybe that's the thing we should be thinking about here, is it will feel more authentic to do it as the Hausa. It's a hell of a lot harder. I think what we will actually have to do is really just start pushing for learning. Like pushing heavily on learning. For all of our rulers for, as Chile says, about 3 generations. Can't remember if there's any dynasty perks or legacies that would help. Don't think there are. Not that would kick in time. Sod it. Let's try and do it as the Hausa. Let's stick with our Hausa-ness. We just need to really push on there. I don't think there are any holding buildings that would help. I don't think there are. I think we just have to keep pushing. Right, let's stick some... I mean, what we could do is... I mean, the dev growth problem will go away. I think it'll go away when we move our capital, because we will eventually move our capital to somewhere more profitable. I think we need to push hard for empire status sooner rather than later. I think. So converting to Andalusian wouldn't move our capital, but we would likely move our capital to do it. So the two ways we could do it would either be to move our capital temporarily to somewhere outside of Africa, and then we can accept local culture. The other alternative would be to conquer somewhere over there which would give us access to a bunch of Andalusians, and then get one of the Andalusians to educate our heir and culture convert them. So our heir would get culture converted to Andalusian. They would then become ruler. We would then become feudal, and then we could actually arguably flip back to being Hausa again. So we could do it in a slightly cheesy way. The issue with doing it that way is it would feudalize us, but we'd then be stuck with only tribal era stuff. So we'd then be behind of sorts on this, because I don't think you get a boost to tribal era stuff just because you happen to be feudal. I don't think. I can't remember if culturally, when you're in the early medieval, whether that then gives you a big boost on getting catch-up tribal ones. Because if I remember how progress on this is determined, is you've got religious exposure. So essentially, do you share religion with some people who already know it is a big determining factor in how quickly something goes. That might be our way of boosting the speed on it. That might be a way of doing it. I am very much looking forward to the culture changes. Like, I don't think they did bad with the implementation at launch of culture, but I'm very much looking forward to it being a bit less kind of one-dimensional in the next release. Shares religion with the Baranis, do we? I don't think we do. I mean, I'm not going to argue, but... The other thing we've got to worry about is once we start coming into contact with Christianity and Islam, they're going to start wanting to crusade against us. Which is why we need our holy order. That's the other reason why being feudal would be really fucking useful, is then we could found a holy order. I do kind of wonder whether we want to try and do the air trick. So we briefly stop being Hausa in order to feudalize, and then adopt local traditions and become Hausa again. What are the Empire ranked titles around? I think we want to be feudal before we in any way go near the Abbasids, and frankly before we go near a lot of the Maghreb. I think it's less of an issue when we're down here with dealing with Mali and Guinea. Well, that's the other thing, is if we get somewhere up this end, we at least have a chance of encountering the right kind of guests. We won't be able to do it with Shawata anyway, because she's too old. It's an evil adventurer. How cool is that? So we'd have to probably do it with Shawata's daughter. Well, I mean, the other way to do it is essentially for Shawata to seduce someone of the correct culture, or of a culture we want, with decent traits, and pop out a kid, and then have the lover educate them. It's sort of what we did. Isn't that how we... Or no, how did we go get the conversion to Mongol culture in the last run? Did we do that, or did we do it where we... Oh, we gave our kid to be educated by the Mongols, didn't we? That's what we did with that one. I kind of wonder whether Gerber is what we want. I would really like our long-term capital to be Tunis. I think Tunis would be a good capital for us. When you take the found an empire decision, see, I think we want to do this rather than use an existing empire. Because it would essentially mean that all of our kingdoms that we held would become de jure of it. Because we don't really want to be holding... It gets complex if we hold multiple empires, essentially. And what we really want to be able to do is release kingdoms within an empire, so that we can get those kingdoms doing religious conversion for us. So we need to boost our realm size, but that's not a problem. But if we're going to do that, I'd like us to control... I'd like us to at least control the Antinacid kingdom before we took that decision. I mean, Kingdom of Sahara is easy to take, but it doesn't have a lot of territory in it. Like, geographically it's quite diverse. It's quite spread out, but... It's basically, I think we need a plan. And I'm legit open to ideas as to how we approach that. But my current thinking is maybe we want to lock in these kingdoms and these kingdoms and create an empire from them. Enjoy Clan William, and yeah, I will be back on next weekend. Have fun, see people, real people. So, in terms of territory we control right now, like Fezan's going to be relatively easy to conquer. Karubaland, once we can go, I think if we push for Exalted Among Men, because when we get Exalted Among Men we can just war for his whole kingdom. We'll just be able to do Invade Kingdom. And we go for Yorubaland, which is going to give us all of that. And that's a bunch of nice counties, so that's going to up our county count. Let's deal with these fools. Because I'm guessing at least one of them, yeah, there you go. Nana. That's a nice little county you've got there. Be a shame if someone stole it from you. Go kill them. Go help. Ugh, they got walls. Probably take that one first, and then we'll go down that little chain there. Right, we don't need everyone standing on there, so let's just take you guys off of it. I bet we haven't got any siege generals either. I suppose it's only 16 months, it's not too bad. See, they're doing the suicide runs approach. Dankaran can marry. We probably should marry Dankaran off then. 16. Someone with nice traits. Ekafewi, let's reinforce those good traits. Oh, my spouse, did my spouse just die? Oh no, I'm not married, am I? I have a girlfriend, I didn't marry. That's actually the other thing we could do. No, we did marry. We married someone for domain and then didn't need it. We really need to find a spouse that's got high learning. Because that will boost our stuff again. Because we can just steal their learning trait. I am looking for hot granny singles with high learning. So we want female, unmarried. with high learning. Aleem is already pregnant. Strong though, so she should be good. I think maybe we just marry her. I know she's preggo. That's the problem, is she... Yeah, I don't know. Because we can't marry a Magadja. She's lustful, brave, mastermind, philosopher. Yeah, go on then. Depends on how much of a hit it's going to give us. I mean, it's 300 prestige. I think it's still probably worth it. Problem is if she dies quickly. Hopefully she doesn't. Thrifty clerk. Yeah, it's not great. But at least it means she should do stewardship path. I'd really like to get the Kingdom War in for Yoruba land before this character dies. Right, she apparently doesn't have any gold, so might as well just enforce that. So then we want to give that to someone. That's quite a nice little province, and this is one of the ones we talked about holding on to. I think we probably keep that. No, let's give it out. Let's give it out. Dankara. Have Ejor. Easily beatable, so let's go after them as well. Just sorts our borders out nicely as much as anything else. Say hello to Chilling. If you're streaming this afternoon, I'll probably dump you some viewers in about 10 minutes. What are we doing? Troops, armies. Go to army things. In you go, gang. That turned out to be quite a brutal combat, didn't it? I think it's because they got the reinforcements halfway through. Because I do think that having a custom empire, I think, is going to be way more useful for us. Definitely think it's going to be more useful for us. I think our spy master just got murdered. Studying learning gives her a boost. Chat, I'm not religiously converting places again. You're meant to be warning me about these things. Can you not plot to kill my wife, please, whoever is plotting to kill my wife? It's not polite to plot to kill someone's wife. We should give him an alliance. We should ransom him. And then we should disband these guys before they run out of food. Who's raiding us? Because that shit's not happening. It's interesting that we're up against Ghana now. So Ghana is our other big power in the area. Open-minded. I think we might just go with enduring, because we're probably due. Well, 2 bits of critical stress wasn't happening. I'm half wondering whether we actually stress our death ourselves now. Sod this, I'm off to the whorehouse. We are now rakish. We could eat the little ones if they've managed to lose their, and we want the prestige from that, more than the piety. Because we're not exactly pushing on piety. Oh no, we got Paragon of Virtue for Holy Wars. No, we want prestige. Let's improve some control. Peasants? Peasants? How dare they? How very dare they? Annoyingly rakish means we're now... Oh no, we're holding 7, so we can drop. So we just want to get rid of that. Let's give it to someone ideally with some kind of traits. That's our niece, but she's going to inherit stuff. We know that already, so you can have it. So we can usurp that title. Which is nice. Like we are essentially, I like that we're running along the river. We have nice pretty borders at the moment. It has to be said, we have pretty borders. We are not border goring. I wonder whether we just eat into all of this and then create our empire. Because we could absolutely munch on so much of that land. Which would then give us... It would push us relatively quickly, I think, to the realm size to be able to do it. Because 3 kingdoms and 80 provinces is what we'll need to get to. So we could just quickly munch on some of these little ones. I mean, you've got no... I feel like you probably should accept that. Could just subjugate her. She's a decent ruler. There's a bridge there, so... Don't need those guys. Finished a control task, so let's get some more control improving. 16 months left on the religious conversion. We're holding 4 duchies, so we probably should give that one out at least. We'll save them for when we've got an heir. When our heir takes over, we'll give a load of stuff out. How dare they? If you come back, I'll give you the territory back that you had. Weirdly, she doesn't want to be seduced by me. I can't imagine why. That can go to... Morrow Barney. There you go, you can have that. No, that's not bad. I still think that the culture conversion plan to be able to feudalise early is something we're going to want to do. But I do think we want to then flip back to Hausa. For roleplay reasons as much as anything else. So I think we would essentially do a conversion just purely to... We do the air route because it's the least problematic. Because then they take over. We slam some stuff to get the prestige that we'd need. Where are these rebels? Oh, there they are. Guys, can you just go deal with them, please? No, my wife died. I've been overwhelmed by stress. Rip my wife. And we lost a councillor. Who did we lose? Our chancellor. Yeah, you can have it. Go on.